Hey guys, Christian the Hammer Card Man coming back at you with another D-Time discussion video today. This time talking about deck lockdown, and this time with me, I am joined by Team Chaos Stream.
Hey, what's up guys? Dank Chaos here from Team Chaos Stream. How's it going?
So anyways, we are here today to discuss with you guys the power of the deck lockdown continuous spell card, and I brought Team Chaos Stream with me today because he's a little more involved with this card than I am, and he actually has a lot of knowledge about it and just is in general better at using this card than I am, considering that a lot of the decks I play this card with, or that I would play this card in, would not really like it all that much. So I'm going to go ahead and let him just rant for a minute and tell you guys his thoughts on the card, and then I might follow up some of my own.
Alright guys, so generally deck lockdown is an extremely good side deck card against certain metas. Like in the past you would come up against cards like decks like Yang Zing, or not really, I mean yeah, technically even Altergeist, which does special summon from the deck. Any deck that is in the meta that can either combo off special in the deck like Praying Kids, Yang Zing, and so on and so forth can be completely shut down by deck lockdown because of its ability to stop the opponent from special summoning from the main deck, and it also stops them from searching through just their deck in general, except by drawing. So if you can set up a board of several negates, and then during your main phase 2 or before you end your turn, you just activate deck lockdown to secure your board, it can highly boost your ability to slow down a game and just lock out the opponent.
Yeah, and now this card is not only powerful against combo decks that are like searching through their decks left and right to either special summon or add to their hand. It's even good against control style decks. Like you think about cards or decks like Subterrors that like to search for their Fiendus, that like to search for their Guru, you know, search for their final battle. Even deck lockdown can just say no to that completely. And the fact that you can just slap it down at the end of a combo if you're going first is just completely insane. Being able to lock your opponent out of doing anything regarding their deck at all other than drawing, it's a powerful card, and it's kind of along the lines of a few others in the meta that I believe my friend Dank Chaos here wanted to talk about and kind of compare it to a little bit.
Yeah, so two other cards that come to mind when being compared to something like deck lockdown are Droll Lockbird and Mistake. So Droll Lockbird stops the same thing that deck lockdown does, except it stops adding from hand entirely. So your opponent cannot draw, or actually neither player can draw or add cards from their deck to their hand. But it doesn't stop them from special summoning from main deck. So it doesn't really hit that, niche that deck lockdown does. And same thing with Mistake. It only stops your opponent. It only stops both players from adding cards from their deck to their hand, except by drawing. So either way, deck lockdown is still better, and also Mistake's a trap, so it takes longer to set up.
Yeah, so deck lockdown really just in its versatility and the fact that it covers so much really makes it a bit more of a powerful card than Droll and Lockbird and Mistake, because Droll and Lockbird, first thing you have to rely on your opponent to have already searched and or at least just added a card to their hand except from their draw phase to be able to activate it, and then it just says neither player can add cards to their deck to the hand. But like Dank Chaos said, they can still special summon from the deck. So there's still so many strategies that can still play through that. One that jumps to mind for me, obviously, is Prank Kids. Prank Kids can easily play through a Droll and Lockbird. It doesn't really affect them in the slightest. And the same thing goes for Mistake, but, once again, they're cards that require setup or, like, a specific event to happen first, whereas deck lockdown, you can just throw it down at the end of a turn after you've already built up your board and you know that you've got things set up, and then you just say, hey, this is what you got to deal with. You can't search the deck to either add to your hand or special summon. And if you've already got negates on the field, like you've got a Borderlord Savage or, whatever, like a Solemn Judgment or something like that, so you can stop your opponent from blowing up your back row and getting rid of the deck lockdown, you've pretty much just secured the game right there, because there's nothing they can do. If they can't pop off their combos and they can't, like, get into mid-combo removal, because there's a lot of decks that have that, like Orcus, for example. Ding Gears 2 has the ability to pop a card. If they can't get into that part of their combo where they're able to bring out the Ding Gears 2, they can't pop your deck lockdown. So if they can't get rid of it with even like a Cosmic Cyclone or a Twin Twisters, then there's nothing they can do. If you're able to stop them from removing that, most decks are just going to find their way completely shut out of the game from a card like this, whereas Mistake and Droll and Lockbird, a lot more decks are able to be flexible and play around that.
Oh, easily. So another thing I wanted to bring up about Droll Lockdown Bird. No, about Deck Lockdown, sorry. Deck Lockdown itself is great against one specific main deck that is terrorizing the meta right now, and that is Eldritch. So a lot of the Eldritch like cards either search or special summon your big old golden boy from the main deck. But if they can't add it or search it or even special summon it from the main deck, their only choice is to dump it in grave, which, unless they see Unizombie, which you can negate with something like Impermanence or Effect Veiler, they're not doing anything with their turn. They're just setting and passing.
Yep, and the thing too about Eldritch is that they're another one of those decks that really like tries to control the game and just kind of out advantage the opponent and play a little bit more of a grindy game. Kind of almost like Salamagrates, but a little bit stronger, I think. In some cases, a little bit more consistent. But the thing is that like if you slap down the Deck Lockdown, it only lasts for 2 turns, but if you can take advantage of even just 1 turn, you can just shut them out completely. Like if they don't get that first turn, and you're able to just go and push for game, if you're playing a very aggressive deck, Deck Lockdown is insane. Like you think about if you set up the Board of Negates and the Deck Lockdown at the end of it, like say you pull out a Borderload Savage and an Apollosa, and you know even like set up a couple other materials for something else, you know, like a Crystal Wing Synchro deck, like if you're playing like DDDs or something, you just slap down a Deck Lockdown after setting up those monsters, then it's so easy on the next turn after like having all those negates out and saying you can't search all this stuff to just go push for game in 1 battle phase. Like that's just insane the amount of power that has.
This card has a lot of utility and a lot of fun ways to lock up the opponent.
Like if you're playing a control deck, Deck Lockdown is so mean. Even if you're playing a combo deck, Deck Lockdown, no matter what case you put it in, it's just such a mean card. It basically just says, hey, you can't play. Honestly, I think in some cases it can be a little bit more degenerate than Apollosa. That's my personal opinion, but, you know, everyone's got their own thoughts on these things.
Oh, of course. My whole thing, too, is actually you brought up a good idea, a good point. Control decks, right? So control decks, if they do play this card in the main deck, or heck, even in the side deck in certain matchups, if you draw into it under something like Inspect Border, or we'll say Watto Inspect Border or True Dracos can abuse this because they still draw out the butthole like constantly. You know, also it is a continuous spell trap. Not to mention, big thing about this too. It removes itself during your second standby phase, so you lock out for 2 turns and then you're free to do things on turn 3 to just end game.
Well, and you think about it too, that this is actually probably the most ideal card for any deck that revolves around the graveyard, like almost exclusively. You think about Orcust and how powerful of a card Deck Lockdown is in that deck, because as soon as you set up your graveyard, you don't even have to worry about your main deck. You just have Deck Lockdown, you've got your Mana Stone in your graveyard, and like all your cards are just constantly recurring. You're just spinning materials back and forth, bringing out different things, out advantaging your opponent, at the same time having Deck Lockdown on the field so that they can't do anything. Well, you've already got everything set up in your graveyard ready to go, so you can pop off your plays as you want. At that point, the main deck doesn't even matter anymore because you're able to just recur everything and keep going with everything.
Well, yeah, that does bring up a good point. Orcust in general, now especially since our Saddle Boy Harp Horror was banned on the ban. They don't have anything that special summons from main deck. I mean, unless you're using the scrap combo, which you don't actually need to use, especially since Mech Knight Gear Suit is coming out. They just send everything to grave to begin with, so you don't have to worry about anything.
Exactly, and just really anything that doesn't rely on like adding to the hand or special summoning from the deck, because it does not say in the card that you can't send stuff to graveyard or banish it. So you can even throw this in a Thunder Dragon deck if you wanted to. Like, it probably wouldn't be as good there because there are still plenty of opportunities adding to the hand. But once you get all that stuff set up in the graveyard or in your hand, if you got a Titan on field and you're just using your monster's abilities to pop stuff, you know, like you're setting out your bullets and stuff like crazy and then banishing them to get advantage, I mean, overall, that still could be a good play. Obviously, once again, not as good as Orcust, but it still could be another option for the Thunder Dragon build if you want to go that route.
I mean, the only thing to be locking out for Thunder Dragons, well, I mean, sadly, it would shut off 2 lines of play, which would be the Thunder Dragon play itself using either the regular Thunder Dragon or Thunder Dragon Dark to search through the deck. And it does shut off your, I want to say, well, his OCG's name is Beasteel.
I think Thunder Dragon Hawk is like the one that reshuffles your hand.
No, the one that special summons from deck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one is Thunder Dragon Roar, I think.
Yes, I believe Thunder Dragon Roar. I believe you are correct.
So, I mean, like, you'd still obviously have to play around stuff like that. But once you got stuff set up in your graveyard, you can at least still use your Thunder Dragon Titan to banish the stuff from your graveyard to keep it alive and be able to attack your opponent next turn. Because the 3,200 body is nothing to be mad about. Like, because that's a pretty strong body there, if we're being completely honest.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are just my general thoughts on this, I would say, underrated side deck, and even in some cases main deck option.
Yeah, I can see myself easily playing this card in the future. And, I think that's probably all we really got for you today. I don't have any more thoughts on this card. Do you?
No, I have nothing else to really say about it.
Well, cool. So that's what we think about this card. You guys feel free to let us know down in the comments what you think. We'll be more than happy to discuss with you our thoughts on the card, further details on what we think, and just kind of discussing with you guys, because I've noticed that a lot of people tend to disagree with my card discussions, and that's totally cool. Everyone's got their own opinion on this. It's all a game of theory and personal preference, so you guys are allowed to think what you think, and we'll think what we think. We personally love Deck Lockdown. This card is just incredible, and I definitely do recommend that you guys pick up a playset at some point in the near future.
Definitely. Thanks for having me on here, my good old friend.
Yes, thank you for joining me, and thank you guys so much for watching today. We really love all your support. We are just now celebrating our 100 subscribers on the Coalition of Scrubs. We're actually 101 right now. By the time this video is released, we'll probably be a bit higher than that, but your guys' support has just been incredible, and we love each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching today. We hope to see you all in the next one. Remember to have fun and make your move. Peace out.